we have done additional investigations about the spheres UFO photographed by Billy Meier. There are several photographs that can be found in different publications. Some skeptics claim that Billy made a scale model and took several photos, making it look like a larger machine. Our research indicates that it is a big object, an unidentified flying object. It's not a scale model. It does not surprise us. However, understanding its origin can be surprising. In this video, we will show the results of the investigation, which the details can be found in a document of several pages, with mathematical calculations, written in English and Spanish. The first impression about this ship is that it has too many details and it is not aerodynamic. It is like looking at a car without its bodywork, with too many pieces. A skeptical person immediately sees a scale model, made with household materials, with bright Christmas balls, as seen in these photos. It also shows what looks like a garbage lid, that forms its base. It has metal parts that can be found in the nearest hardware stores. There are skeptics who have made similar models, and they have taken photos of them. And the results are very similar to the photos of Billy. Additionally, it is easy to find in Switzerland, and even in Billy Meier property, trash can lids that resemble the base of this UFO. These covers measure about ½ a meter in diameter. The lids additionally have some handles at each side, which are the same that Billy photos show at the base of the UFO. It is very easy to arrive at the conclusion that Billy Meier made a scale model, and took pictures of it, giving the impression of a larger alien spacecraft. And we know that many people get to this point, and they do not require further investigation. And with this UFO they reinforce its already preset idea that Billy is a fraud. However, we have learned that in regard to Billy Meier case, it is easy to find at first glance that all of this is false. But if you investigate in more detail, you may find clues that shows it's authentic. It gives the impression, in this case, that somebody made this device, as it is, on purpose, so that at first glance looks like a fraud, but some clues are left, which by analyzing them in detail, they indicate the opposite. The secrets hidden in the sphere's reflections. To understand the research we have done, we must explain the importance of the analysis of reflections on this UFO spheres. To explain this, we will make an analogy. Imagine that someone takes photos of a mysterious rectangle that floats above the ground. It is like a painting frame that surprisingly is hovering above the ground. The photos of this frame do not show clearly what its real size is. It can be a very distant big frame, or a nearby small one. The opinions of different people would be divided about its size. Now, imagine that this frame has a mirror inside, and this mirror reflects what is in front of it. Then, if we just look at the frame, we will not be sure about its actual size. But if we look at the reflections on it, we can have evidence of its size. If we see in the mirror the reflected image of a photographer with his camera, and perhaps a building behind him, the mirror image size depends on the distance between the camera and the mirror. The reflected image size does not depend on the use of a zoom in the camera. If it is a small mirror, floating a short distance from the camera, the photographer and the construction behind will be large on the reflected image. On the other hand, if the mirror is hovering in the air at a large distance, the mirror image of the photographer and the nearby construction will be small. Making calculations based on the size of the reflections that appear on the image, we can calculate the distance to the mirror. And therefore we can know what its actual size is. That is exactly what we have investigated in the sphere's UFO. We made an initial test by comparing reflections on spheres in a scale model of Billy property, locating them in different positions. And we found that this is an object of a size similar to a small car. We have done a video about it. However, to make sure, we made additional research by using a computer 3D modeling program. And we tested additional photos of this UFO. Then, about this object we defined 4 hypotheses, which may explain why its appearance is so peculiar. As if it was done with household materials.
Hypothesis number 1. Billy Meyer made a scale model, using a trash can lid, bright Christmas tree balls, and other household items. Billy took photos of this model, with trees behind him, using the effect of false perspective. This is the main hypothesis skeptics of this case endorse. We then made measurements at Billy property, on site. We also look at satellite imagery, in Google Earth. And we made a plan view of Billy property with the buildings and the parking lot, where he took his photos. We modeled the carriage house, Billy's house, and the sphere's UFO. We made a computer model by using Blender, a computer tool. And we analyzed the reflections on the model's spheres. And we not only analyzed one of the photos, we did the analysis on additional pictures of the same type of UFO. Such as, for example, photos of this object flying above a forest. In addition, we combined images of the reflections of adjacent spheres. And we created images in 3 dimensions of trees and buildings surrounding it, at the time of the photo shooting. And although they are blurry images, they show what was around. In our analysis, we found that it is impossible that Billy has taken pictures of a scale model of just half a meter in diameter. The UFO that he photographed in his courtyard measured around 3.5 meters in diameter. The investigation report, with all the details, can be freely downloaded from internet, and it can be analyzed and debated. So, we think, this hypothesis is not valid.
Hypothesis number 2. Billy made a larger model, of 3.5 meters in diameter. And he took pictures of it. This scenario is very unlikely. There's no evidence of trash can lids of this size. Other materials, for example the metal shelves brackets, should be 15 centimeters in length. Additionally, we have found that not all the reflective spheres are of the same size. The lower tier are the largest. In the middle one they are slightly smaller. And the upper tier has the smallest spheres. So it is very difficult to find reflective spheres of about 25 centimeters in diameter, with 3 slightly different sizes. Additionally, if anyone can build an object so large, it would be very expensive, and it would be very heavy, weighing more than 500 kilograms. And lifting it, at the treetop's height, it would be very complicated. And why Billy would have made a UFO model so big, if he had at hand all the required materials to make something smaller and more handy. We believe that this hypothesis is not valid.
Hypothesis number 3. The photos were first, and the household items were invented later. People interested in damaging the reputation of Billy Meier watched the UFO photos taken by him. And they designed and promoted the construction of similar objects, imitating the ones shown in this UFO. Trash cans, with covers that are similar to the base of the UFO, came to Billy property 2 years after he took his photos. To validate this hypothesis, we should investigate in detail when these trash cans were designed for the first time, or when the shelves brackets were designed and manufactured. This hypothesis is likely, but it would require investigating further, finding the manufacturing dates of these household objects, which seem so similar to the ones in the Sphere's UFO.
Hypothesis number 4. The extraterrestrials did it on purpose. The Pleiadians designed and built some spaceships, which seemed to be made with household materials. And they did it on purpose. They would do that to provide an emergency exit, for those who are not prepared to accept the alien presence on Earth. The aliens know that it takes time for a culture to the level of Earth humans to accept that we are not the only inhabitants of the universe. They might have already done it on other planets, and Earth is not an exception. This hypothesis is supported by other events, for example a flying UFO hovering around a tree, which the aliens moved on purpose, as if it were held by a thread. Another UFO was photographed around another tree, but the Pleiadians disappeared these trees after the photos were taken. Billy Meier was not authorized to take some particular pictures, and if he did so, they, the aliens, damaged or retained these photos. This hypothesis is also possible. We personally believe that it is the most probable one. Do you have another hypothesis about this UFO? Why this UFO seems to be made with household items, but it turns out to be very large to be a model? What is behind all this? What it is clear is that, this unidentified flying object, which is quite complex, will continue capturing our curiosity in the coming years.